Thank you. That's very nice of you, and I didn't even have to roll my odometer back. Oh, you sound great tonight. You make up last night, audience.
Oh.
Not too swift. They had to take a speed reading course to finish the applause sign by the end of the show. Hello, Tom.
How are you?
Where's Doc tonight? Nobody told me.
Doc is on the road.
Again? On the road again?
On the road again. He's waxing symphonic.
He's waxing symphonic? He's up at Phoenix again.
No, it's another town that's let him in.
Oh. And that's the latest status report on the whereabouts of Doc. How many, well, let's see, what's in the news? The Chrysler Company. Did you read what they're doing? They were indicted. Yeah, they apparently were tampering with the odometers, the thing that checks the mileage, you know, on new cars. Apparently, Chrysler managers at the plant would drive these cars for several weeks. And then they would just, I guess, erase the mileage? Yeah. They were caught when they found 500 Chrysler managers driving all the way in reverse to work. No, actually, that's not what they were doing. They weren't hooking them up. Right. Do you know what the odometer is? That gives you the mileage. The speedometer gives you the mileage. They just were disconnecting them. And they had some cars that were driven 3 or 4 weeks. And then they would put the odometer on and give it to the dealer. And the guy from Chrysler today, the spokesman, says disconnecting was part of a quality assurance program. You betcha. Isn't that a dandy? Now, if you buy that, I've got a time-sharing condo in downtown Beirut I'd like to rent. What's going on? Doesn't he play the game straight anymore? Now, I think it may be true. I was in a Chrysler showroom yesterday, and I saw a Chrysler. I think it was slightly used. It had a hand crank and a bumper sticker that said, "Let's kick the Kaiser where it hurts." The salesman tried to tell me it was an '87 LeBaron. And I looked in the rumble seat, and I saw a little Herbert Hoover with a bobbing head sitting there. I mean, that really bugs me, trying to pass off an old product as new. And I'll have more to say about that on a brand new Best of Carson Monday night. Well, let's zip back to Washington, where all the really good humor is nowadays. Of course, you all know by now that Colonel Oliver North, apparently spent about $13,000 of the money that was supposed to go to the Contras to install a security system at his house. Well, I want to tell you, he has got a great security system. Last night, I understand a burglar tried to get over the fence and was nuked. Right, that's a first-rate system. Now, Colonel Oliver North finally struck a deal. He's going to testify in private, but not under oath. Then he'll testify in public, but they can't hold him more than 4 days. Once he has finished his 4 days, he's dismissed. They cannot call him back. Not a bad deal. Not only that, he's allowed to keep his fingers crossed during the questioning. And if the chief prosecutor forgets to say, "Simon says," Ollie gets 2 giant steps and a hop. I don't understand. Are you familiar with Oliver North's code names? They had these code names. Yeah. United States was orange. Israel was banana. True. Who else? Iran was the apple. The whole plan was the pits. But, I mean, those are... Oliver North is going to testify for 4 days. Then Congress is going to have hearings on the other big question that's been troubling a lot of people in this country. Why are the British taking so long to bury the Elephant Man? Oh, look, I want you to know this is only a test of the emergency monologue system. This is only a test. If this had been a real monologue, you would have been told where to laugh. But this is just a test. Well, now let's see what else was happening. Jessica Hahn. Do you remember Jessica Hahn?
Yeah.
She was on the front page of USA Today, and she was crying. I know what Jim Baker saw in her. Jim and Tammy broke their long silence yesterday and said, we have nothing new to report, but we haven't had a press conference in almost 8 hours, and we want to tell you. The Bakers are still making news. You know, CBS could make a fortune if they fired Dan Rather and have Jim and Tammy come on every night and says, okay, here's what we did today. And save a lot of money. They did have one bit of news. Tammy said she lost an eyelash. But they found it. 16 illegal aliens were using it as a hut. Now, and Jessica Hahn was on Donahue today. She said, you know, the media is causing her a lot of problems. Do you get the feeling they're kind of exploiting their scandals? I told you in Hollywood Squares last night. Top row was Jessica, Fawn, and Donna Rice. And Jim and Tammy were in seclusion in the center square. Now, you see what Jessica Hahn said also in the USA paper today? She snubbed Jim Baker's apology, which appeared in the paper. Jessica Hahn said, it's too little, too late. Now, I think she was referring to the apology and not his performance 6 years ago. I don't know. Could have. Anyway. Now, you were ahead of me, weren't you? Yeah. Now, something good did happen in Washington the other day. The giant panda, Ling Ling, gave birth. Baby panda weighed, you know, I thought, wouldn't you think a baby panda would be a little larger than 4 ounces? 4 ounces. And the National Enquirer ought to be ashamed of themselves. Their headline today was, Ling Ling says it's Elvis's cub. I mean, will this... Did you know today is the 30th anniversary of the Frisbee, the invention of the Frisbee? May not mean much to you, but Malibu schools are closed. There's one little... Another item on the paper today, the Agriculture Department is releasing thousands of sterile male fruit flies to control mating. And the fruit flies were offended. They said, we're not sterile. We just feel it's the good time to abstain these days. You get all of these gems, and that's the way we go out, huh? Okay. Anyway, tonight we got a great show. We have a very funny man who's out in a brand new picture, Mr. Dan Aykroyd. Very funny. Very funny gentleman who's been on the show many times. Bobby Kelton is here tonight. And fascinating actress who is, I think, currently in the picture called... Help me out. Thank you very much. Talking to my staff, the picture she's in is...
It's a fine picture.
What, the name of the picture?
It escapes me.
In a picture called It Escapes Me?
The Believers.
The Believers.
That's Believers.
Thank you, staff. What picture's she in? Huh? The Believers. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't... Thank you. Whoopee. Did you know my trouser size is 32?
I do now. Some nights we just ought to stay on during
We're
that
exchanging
period.
clothing measurements for some reason tonight. The audience is in that mood. If you just joined us, we have Dan Aykroyd here tonight, who's got a new picture out, Dragnet. Bobby Kelton, Helen Shaver. How many of you saw the story, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about Vanna White's dress? All right, let me read you what happened. Shows you the times we're living in. The owner of an espresso bar in Seattle has been displaying a polyester magenta dress once worn by Vanna White, apparently on, I guess, Wheel of Fortune, right? It's sitting in front of his bar on a headless mannequin, and people are paying 25 cents each to touch it. Well, now, the proceeds go to a local children's hospital, so that's good. But people, they're collecting money. Now, be honest with me. How many of you, if you were in Seattle, would go out of your way to touch Vanna White's dress for 2 bits? Come on. You know, there's a little association, I guess, with a celebrity. Well, that's what we thought. So what we've done, folks, we want to test that theory. We've collected some belongings from various celebrities, and if you feel a mind to, after the show, we can put these out in the lobby, and for 25 cents, you can touch any one of these. So at least when you go back home, you can say, hey, I actually had some contact with some famous people. You like the setup? Let's move on to what we call the prop bit.
What do we have first?
What do we have first? All right. This is something Sylvester Stallone plays with between takes on his movie. It's a yo. It's half of a... Yo. You know, and he goes, yo, you know. Man's got to do what he's got to do, you know. A yo. Oh, sure.
Got to start with something.
That's right. This is the wine cooler that Bruce Willis serves at his house parties. These are the glasses that Senator Daniel Inouye wore while interviewing Fawn Hall. Now, this is a sign from Ed McMahon's house. This is from Ed's house, so if you, for 25 cents, this is the sign on Ed's bathroom. On a deep decline. I'm going to edit some of these. I don't want to take up your time. Why not? We spent some money for this one. A lot of work went into this. These are the cardboard sunscreen from Tammy Faye Baker's car. Somebody. When our prop department spends that much money on a prop, you gotta go with it. But none of you know what this is. This is the dress Oliver North plans to wear so we can get the congressional committee to go easy on him. No, that doesn't deserve that. Almost have to get a side view of this if you can see this. All right, you got that? This is the portion of the boxing ring canvas that Jerry Cooney sleeps on. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's goggles. Not a bad idea, right? And they actually have little, the switches on the back here. Where's the back? On the strap, right here. And the high beams, as you can see, are for night games. Look, a skilled artisan sat in the prop room building these, and that's what he gets for that. Hey. Never mind if it's not funny. He should get a hand for putting time in for this. What are we doing on this?
Up and down.
Here's a photo of Spud McKenzie's agent. Not so bad. From Shirley MacLaine's kitchen cupboard, a can of 99 Lives tuna. You all know George Hamilton? Okay, a bottle of George Hamilton's Sunblock minus 14. All right. Now, let's try this one. This belongs to Ed. He builds these as a hobby. It's a bottle in a bottle. You see, there's a bottle here, and then there's a bottle inside the bottle.
That would help,
What'd you call it, about 200 for this?
yeah. Easy, yeah. Several hours' work.
Several hours' work doing this little detailing, actually getting the bottle in there.
Sure.
And putting this whole thing up together, putting the top on and a cork and everything.
And before that, someone had to come up with the idea, and then you had to okay it.
What? I'll share the blame for that one. I want to figure out what this whole thing cost us. And it's coming out of somebody's hide.
Burn a Budweiser.
Yeah, I'll take any help I can get. Okay. Pope John Paul's Dodgers cap. Now, come on. Now, don't. This is not anti-religion. Look, you know what they're doing when the Pope comes here? There's an article in the paper today of the merchandising of the Pope's visit. They're selling Popesicles. They actually have ice cream stuff called Popesicles. They're merchandising it like crazy. So I don't think this is... Do you think the...
No, it's all right.
It's just kind of cute. The Pope's got a sense of humor, doesn't he?
Yes.
I wish he was here.
What about the
So
picture?
maybe he could absolve me for this whole bit.
What about the picture?
That's the big finish.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. This is my generic wedding photo. I think that's enough for that, right? Figure maybe $1,100, $1,200 for the whole thing, huh? And worth every penny of it. Okay. In a moment, Dan Aykroyd will come out, and Bobby Kelton and Helen Shaver. So stay with us. Okay, my next guest. You all know my first guest. He's a very talented and funny gentleman, and one of the original cast members of the old Saturday Night Live. Since then, he has starred in movies like The Blues Brothers and Ghostbusters. And he's got a new movie out, opens tomorrow around the country, Dragnet. Would you welcome Dan Aykroyd?
Whenever I do this show, I want to come out after the prop bit.
Always follow props. You cannot lose when you do a prop.
That's true. That's true enough.
You've done those things on the show where
Oh,
the props
absolutely.
just sometimes don't take off.
Sure, I'll tell you, Bassomatic, that was one of the ones, you know.
I remember that. Didn't you once have a rat in that thing?
We had a bat, a rat, a bass, and, you know,
Bat-a-rabbit.
some things grind better than others, you know.
How you doing?
Good, very good, very good.
So
very excited.
Dragnet is tomorrow.
That's right, and
You like it?
yeah, it's a lot of fun. You knew Jack Webb, didn't you?
I knew Jack very well. He was
Yeah.
a dear friend, and he was on this show a number of times. In fact, one of the best sketches we ever did was with Jack Webb when we parodied his show, which was probably the most parodied show ever on television because it was so stylized and the rhythm of the voices and the underplay.
Mr. Bub.
Yes.
He always called him Mr. or Bub.
And he came
Junior.
on. Yeah, and he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And well, of course, you were young when Dragnet was a big hit.
Well, I remember
It's
this.
still playing.
It still is
Yeah.
playing, and of course, it was very big in the American culture. And I often think, you know, what would Jack Webb have thought of the movie we did? But I think anything that big, that huge, has got to be satirized. And you know, I think he knew that and realized that. And certainly, Harry Morgan lent credibility to our project by being in it. And he said that Jack would have probably understood. But I can remember at 3 years old seeing the Jumper episode. There was a jumper episode there where he talked the guy off a ledge, and it was even before the Ben Alexander stuff. But Dragnet
That's right.
was
Ben
very,
Alexander was before Harry
It's
Morgan.
very big. I have a couple of things here just to show you. First of all, this is a classic. I'm into Jack Webb? No, not at all. I just have.
You
a
got
few
props.
things.
I hope your props go better than mine.
Yeah. This is the Chesterfield ad that he did. He did commercials for Chesterfield, and also this is the Time mag. This is one of my favorite, right here.
You do collect this memorabilia, don't you?
Here the Time magazine cover.
Jack was a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Had one of the great voices. He was a radio actor.
He sure did, and kids were really into it. You know, this was what you could get back then in the 50s. You could buy a little kind of a badge.
Did you send away for this stuff?
I actually sent away. I lost mine. This is one that I found, and also at the police academy in Los Angeles, you can buy coasters. Badge coasters, and they have the 714 number on them, of course. I heard Jack did things like he gave away Cadillacs to technicians he liked, and you know, he had kind of an Elvis thing about Cadillacs.
He was. You're a sentimentalist, aren't you?
I really. At 3 years old, I started to watch the show, and you know, taking a role, people figure, well, you do it as a job and everything, and you know, it's like an assignment and everything. I'm going to let you in on something. I have been dreaming about doing this role for years and years and years.
That much influence when you saw the show.
Absolutely. I love all those old police shows. I mean, you know, Jack Webb is obviously, you know, the king of that genre, but remember Highway Patrol?
Rod Crawford.
10-4, 10-4, 10-4. Listen, man, you should get some black and white, something quick. A little bit quick. 10-4. 10-4, yeah.
Those are the early ones.
Yeah, and
Those were the early ones.
Sure, and that movie that Broderick Crawford did, do you remember with Judy Holliday?
The whole tone of the movie like this. He's like this with the whole movie like this.
It was Bells Are Ringing.
Yeah, and
What,
Judy Holiday.
No, that
Born
wasn't a new
Yesterday.
movie. Born Yesterday.
Yeah, was in that too.
Yeah.
And the other great television cop, of course, and I have to get up here and do the walk if is my friend and yours. Let me get over here.
Bobby Stack, the Untouchables. Lee Rico Youngblood, bring the car on by the back. We'll see Mr. Nitty downtown. Rico Youngblood. Wait a minute all the time. Yeah.
We're going to get Frank Nitti in. He just went on like that.
Yeah. Of course, the new Untouchables is you know, quite different. But,
Yeah, I heard it's a great picture
It
also.
is a really great picture. I really enjoyed it. I'd go back and see it again. The only thing was the Mounties were not well treated in there. Being a Canadian, my grandfather was a Royal Canadian Mounted Policeman.
I didn't know
actually,
that.
yeah. Not the one that we talked about the last time.
Yeah.
But that lasted 6 seconds last time, remember? Yeah, he was an actual RCMP guy, and you know, in the Untouchables, they didn't actually wear those tunics. They didn't ride cavalry style. But apart from that, it was a great movie. But only I noticed. Me and the RCMP.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. You got a film clip of this tonight also?
Yeah, absolutely.
You
A
better
scene
have.
where I arrest somebody.
This is the film clip. We'll be right back. I think I knew Jack Webb well enough to say that Jack would find that very funny.
I hope so. I really hope
he
so.
would, because he would find that flattering.
It was done, you know, in a spirit of affection. I watched about 25 of the old black and white shows and
Yeah.
about 20 of the color ones. And we
He's
have...
got his rhythm down nice, the voices, but it's that rhythm. It's that kind
Yeah, boy, he had a... And you know what? Also, Johnny, what we tried to get, well, Alan Zweibel, who writes the Gary Shandling Show,
Right.
Tom Mankiewicz, the screenwriter, you know.
Right.
We tried to get the writing that he did. He was a great writer. I mean,
Yeah.
the Friday character is just like Mike Hammer, Philip Marlowe, Sam Spade. It's one of those great detective characters, and I think we nailed the writing. So some of the stuff in the opening voiceover of the movie, this is the city, Los Angeles, California.
I work here.
You know, all that
You
stuff
know, he
was right
also
there from the show.
he innovated something else in television. It's kind of inside, but it was interesting because in a lot of those shows, they talked directly to the camera as if the camera was the other actor.
Yeah.
And what Webb did, they were reading dialogue very often right off the teleprompter. So when he'd say, "Ma'am," he was looking right at it and he'd say, "Well, so-and-so reported here," and the actors were reading this dialogue, and they did it so well that contact looked like we're talking to the audience.
And it sounded very real. And he'd call up an actor. He'd say, "Would you like to come down and play the room clerk this afternoon?" You know. And the guy'd say, "Okay, when am I going to get there?" "Right now," you know. And he'd bring him in, and the guy'd learn his lines, and he'd say, "No, take the script away. I want you reading it."
Right.
And he read all his speeches, his big speeches.
Yeah. How many years would drag that on?
I think from 49 till 57 or early 58, and then it came back in the 60s,
What other shows
70s.
did you grow up with?
Well, I owe my whole sort of, you know, understanding of this business and everything, too. You know, Jackie Gleason, who died.
What a loss.
That
What
was
a loss.
really, really
Jackie
bad.
passed away last night.
And Lucille Ball, of course. Desi Arnaz was also really, really great, you know.
Lucy.
Yeah, he was. He really
They're
had-
still playing them every morning at 9 o'clock, and they're funny as now as they were 30 years ago.
Absolutely. You know, I wasn't so much into My Mother the Car, you know, not so much. Or, you know, some of
Exo
those-
Man or some of those others.
Yeah.
Did you work with a lot of law enforcement people? You collect badges, I know. Is this what...
No, I don't collect badges at all, John. I don't really. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff at all. No,
Look at this. Look at it. Now, are these legitimate?
I don't. Actually, yeah. You know, it's like Elvis Presley has one of the greatest collections at Graceland, and I've heard stories about. You know,
These are for real,
Yeah,
huh?
these are for real. Joliet Police here, and Long Beach Police Officers Association. I was made an honorary member there last night.
Now, if somebody
I'm
stopped...
thrilled about this stuff.
If somebody stopped you, would you...
Would I flash
you,
that?
flash one of
I'd
these
be
things?
stopping them, Johnny. That's what would be going on. And actually, you know, Elvis apparently a couple of times in Memphis, he had the full county police and all the ID
Right.
and everything, you know, and he'd pull up and you know,
You just went through that red light there, brother. I want to tell you right now. I want to make sure you don't go through that red light. I'm going to give you a warning right now. I'm a piece of them lost.
you know, and it's one of the most impressive collections I've ever seen. This is a New Orleans police badge. That's a real one. This is the weirdest one I have here.
What is
because
this?
the guy painted it himself. It's a sheriff, Kenosha County, Wisconsin.
And he painted the badge.
Oh, yeah. Now, that guy there, you know he talked like that there, you know?
And
That's fun.
But it is fun. It's
You're a
neat.
collector.
John Landis gave me this. He took this off a policeman in Tijuana. I think he bartered for it.
What is this one here, the small one? Is that New
That's
York?
a little Captain New York City Police. Just
Yeah.
you know, if you give $100 to the PBA, they hand out badges anywhere.
Yeah.
It's funny. New York State is like that. Everybody has ID or a badge or a sticker in the window. I'm blowing up the Taconic Parkway there in my car, coming off a long-distance trip. You know, maybe, well, doing close to 80 miles an hour. And a guy pulls up in front of me in a Buick T-Type, and he starts to race me. And he races me. And we're racing together, and he's going curves and everything, and really good driver, excellent driver. So I figured, hey, I'm going to pass this guy. So I pull out, and I pass him. The red light comes on, man.
It was an unmarked...
Well, I thought, wait a minute, this is New York State. Everybody puts red lights in their windows. Everybody does it sometimes. He pulls me over. Sure enough, Inspector, New York State Police, he says, why don't you drive like a human being? I said, I was following you, sir. But, I mean, he stopped me when I passed him. I mean, he stopped me because he knew I was beating him there.
And you beat the rap.
Yeah, no, he knew we were racing, and he let me off because he knew what it was. And it was like 2 in the morning. There was no other traffic. I wouldn't drive otherwise that way.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay, my next guest is here, as I said before, on our show many times. Bobby is going to be starting a series of one-man shows at Carlos and Charlie's in Hollywood, as a matter of fact, tonight. And he'll also be at the Temple Theater in Meridian, Mississippi, the 3rd of July. Would you welcome Bobby Kelton? Bobby?
How you all doing tonight? Feeling good? I am in a great mood. My parents are in the audience tonight. My mother and father are here, and my surrogate mother and her lawyer are here. And would you believe that I got pulled over by a cop coming here? You know, it never ends with these guys out here. They're so serious. The guy comes over, he says, well, going a little fast there, pal. Where are you headed? I said, I'm going to NBC to do The Tonight Show. He says, what are you, a comedian? It never ends. They're cracking down on everything. I'm at McDonald's, and as you probably know, McDonald's always has a little game, you know, with the little tickets. Have you played that? You know, you rub it off, win a Big Mac or something, right? And on the back of these tickets, they have a warning. Anyone attempting to forge a McDonald's game card will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Can you imagine being in jail for that? How embarrassing that would be. What are you in for, murder? Nah, McForgery. But see, they got success because everything has a catchy name, which I think is a secret to life. You know, to be successful, like to be a world leader, you have to have a catchy name. Just read the papers, like this guy Gorbachev of Russia. I like that name, it's cute. Sounds kind of like, honey, I'll do the dishes, you take the garbage off. Or this guy in Africa, Bishop Tutu. What a great name. Can you imagine him in a restaurant? Tutu, party of 2. Party of 2 for Tutu. How about if he was a baseball player? 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and a 2-2 count on Tutu. Well, my favorite is Doug Flutie of the Chicago Bears. You know Doug Flutie? Sounds like something your mother would yell at you when you were a kid. Don't touch your flutie. And keep your hands off your tutu. And my parents would do that. All we did when we were kids was fight. I have 3 brothers. How many of you fought with your brothers or sisters? It was more like guerrilla warfare, wasn't it? It was always the same thing. You would chase them around the dining room table 5 or 6 times, and then they would lock themselves in the bathroom, and it became like a police stakeout. Come on out, I'm going to kill you. And they would take hostages. I have your toothbrush, I'm going to flush it down the toilet. Then you would try to smoke them out by spraying Raid under the door. Try to pick the lock with a butter knife for an hour. Your parents would come home 2 hours later. You'd be standing there in a welder's mask and a blowtorch. And it was just awkward, you know, and that's why you remain single well into your 30s. How many single people do we have here tonight? Any married people? And the rest of you are not quite sure? You know, one thing that bothers me, I'm single. Whether you're single or married, don't you hate it when you see a couple being overly affectionate in public? You know, they're in the next booth in the restaurant, necking and groping, you're trying to eat your eggs. I always want to go up to them and go, "Excuse me, would you mind if I joined you? It's been so long." How do these people think? Do they wake up in the morning, "You want to have sex, honey?" "No, let's wait till we get to Denny's." It makes dating tough. You know what I think is cute about women on a first date? And you girls could vouch for this. Women don't want you to think they eat too much on a first date, right? They want you to think they're petite and dainty. So it's like, "Oh, I'll just have a roll. Maybe a sip of water." Like they just got out of jail or something. That night they go home, take off their skinny clothes, put on their fat clothes, become like Quasimodo. "Where's the turkey?" Next morning, there's carcasses of dead animals all over the kitchen. Why do you think women go to the bathroom in pairs? They go there to eat. And you know, everything's so confusing today. You know, now with all the problems, the safe sex thing, they should clarify this. What is safe sex? What, do you get a baseball umpire to stand next to your bed at night? You're safe. How about a football referee? Personal foul, illegal use of the flutie. And to top it all off, I see a headline the other day in the paper, and it was really weird. It said, "Birth control race, sterilization edging out the pill." I felt like I was at the track. I pictured an announcer, "And they're off out in the middle of the track. It's sterilization in front. The pill is second. Cutting the lead in half, it's vasectomy on the outside. And it's the diaphragm closing the gap." Now it's sterilization on the pill, neck and neck. A big, loud no on the inside third. And rhythm is dead last. And at the wire, it's the pill and vasectomy in a dead heat. Along the rail, it's Trojan Warrior. And the winner is I Have a Headache.
My next guest has been with us before. My next guest is an actress who's always been described as intelligent and sensual, which is a good combination in my book. She's currently starring in a picture called The Believers. Would you welcome Helen Shaver? Yeah, what a nice description. Did you hear that description that people refer to as intelligent and sensual? If you had your choice, which one of those would you prefer, to be known as sensual or intelligent? If you had your choice.
Well, I think you have to be intelligent in order to be sensual. Otherwise, it's just kind of boom, boom, you know?
I guess. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You know, the people I find most attractive are people who are very good at what they do. I love to see, I mean, I went fishing, tuna fishing, And on the way back, the man who was cleaning all the tunas, you know, we'd caught about 50 tunas.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, as he cleaned the tunas, he became so beautiful, just doing what he did well.
Cleaning tuna turns you on, does it? I mean, everybody has their little things, just a man.
Yes, you know.
You like somebody who, whatever they do, and do it well.
Yeah.
Do you find creative people then obviously more sensual?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can walk into a room full of people, not know anyone, and if I'm attracted to somebody, I know that they are going to be very, if they're a plumber, they're a great plumber. If they're a writer, they're a great writer. Because there's sort of a light that comes out of people.
I just like to get my plumber to show up, you know. Hey, this picture you just made, The Believers.
Yes.
Somebody said you worked with, because we've had them on the show before, tarantulas, and you had them all over you.
All over my face.
All over your face.
Yes.
Now, people obviously would think that this is a prop or something.
These are real tarantulas, and there is nothing in the world that prepares you for 6 hours of spiders on your face. You know, you read a script and
Why
you say...
do they have to use real spiders? Just for the...
yeah. Well, they had to come out of this boil on my face, and...
It's attractive.
It was one of the more glamorous
I've always
moments
found
of my
women
life.
sensual who have a spider coming out of a boil on their face. I mean...
Awful. You have no idea. I mean, and the thing is that in doing the close-up, there's a lot of restraint because the depth of focus and so on, you can't move this way, you can't move that way. It's sort of like a little kid who has to go to the bathroom and there's one more block to get to school and there's that element of restraint. It just heightens every feeling. And it was horrible, these spiders.
Why'd you decide? I know people who would not even touch one, much less put them on their face.
I read the script. It was great. It was John Schlesinger, Martin Sheen. I said,
Yeah.
fabulous, you know. And I know that, well, John Schlesinger did that dentist scene with in Marathon Man.
Right.
I knew that he would handle it incredibly. But the reality of it was that it was my face and spiders.
Yeah.
And they like little dark places, so they try to crawl up your nose and they tangle up in your eyelashes. It's really...
You seem to like this whole thing.
It was...
Weren't you worried about getting... I saw a picture once where they had ants or rats or something, and it said, Rat Wrangler.
Yes.
You got a credit, Rat Wrangler.
It's a euphemism.
And they use that for, I guess, insect wrangler or something? That's the guy who brings these...
David Brody, yes, from the Museum of Natural History and Science. But what he is really is he can guess. You know, he sort of guesses that they're getting angry now, and he takes that one off.
How does he do that? I mean...
He looks... No, that's a terrible thing to say, but you know how people look like their pets?
Yeah?
Very odd experience. You know, knows a lot about spiders. Refrigerator full of 100 of them. And so when he
Why do
felt...
they keep them in a refrigerator?
To cool them down so that they wouldn't be too angry because they hadn't fed them for a month and a half because they wanted to keep them the right size. I'm serious.
Weren't you afraid of getting bitten?
Yeah, I was terrified. I was thoroughly terrified.
Well, you're gutsy, I'll say that.
Or silly, I'm not sure.
Now, you had another scene in the picture, which sounds easy, but you were lost at sea, right?
Yes.
And you spent how much time in water going through this?
6 weeks, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, wet. I mean, again, you read, I say I like water, that's no problem, I scuba dive.
Yeah.
But to be wet for that long is just like...
Wouldn't you like a
exhausting.
nice, quiet type of picture where you don't have to do that, you know?
Yes, I've chosen a great one. I'm in China. Well, I'm just back for a couple of weeks. I've been in China, mainland China, making a movie called Beth Hume with Donald Sutherland. And we've been shooting in an area of China that just opened up to the west. So, I mean, the complications are huge because the Chinese are our partners and,
Right.
you know, culturally they're the opposite to us. But on top of that, they've never seen a Western woman. So it's this whole experience of you walk out onto the street and 500 people surround you. And it's not aggressive, but it's...
No, but they'd just not seen something like you before.
And it's like this close. And it's the strangest thing.
You mean they just come up to you and stare at you?
Like... I mean, it just very close. And you sort of smile and you speak English and they giggle and it's very odd.
Do that again. I've had a bad...
I worked with Tom Cruise, you know, and Paul Newman on The
Sure.
Color of Money, and I saw all these people, you know, there'd be hundreds of people standing in the cold in the morning in Chicago when Paul and Tom would arrive. You know, there'd be a great when Paul came and a great when Tom came. You know, you always knew who was coming first. Yeah. But I thought in China, if somebody is about to become a huge, huge star,
Right.
and if they're Westerner, they should just go to China because it's the same thing.
Good for the ego, huh?
Yes.
That's nice. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We are back. So now you're going to be here, and then you have to go back to China to
I go
work on
back
the
next
picture.
week, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
well, good luck with it. Come back and report on how it was, because we could talk about it. I've never been there. They say it's fascinating.
It is, and hard.
And then we can talk how the people come up and look at you. I
We could
like
do
that part. The picture is The Believers. It's opening, or opened?
It opened about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, good luck with it.
Thanks.
And Dan, your picture tomorrow.
Yeah, here it is. Here's the badge.
There's the
Bill.
badge right
There
there.
it is. That's it.
Dragging that around the
Yeah, it should
country.
be fun. That spider scene looked great, by the way.
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw the movie, absolutely. Yeah, I
Did you
enjoyed it.
scream?
Yeah, it was amazing. I didn't know what was happening because it starts as a zit.
That's an extremely
Check it
bad
out.
case.
Really?
Anyway, thank you both. Thank you, Bobby Kelton, for being here. Tomorrow night, Robert Klein. I remember these things. Don't even have to look at the card. William F. Buckley. Talk about his new book. And Glenn Medeiros will be here. I hope you'll join us. I'm humbled by that applause.